Bowling with the Pfaff.
Bowling with the Pfaff.
Are you ready?
Ready. Your bowling stories.
They found you.
They did.
Pfaff's all over.
Every week.
Bowling has picked back up again.
Live.
UW-Whitewater. There it is.
Why the fedora? Do I look good in it?
I think you look great in it.
I want to challenge Skylar Pence.
Mike Hatton.
I'm going to challenge Alec Keplinger.
Let's do this.
Roll 'em.
This is Bowling with the Pfaff.
Monday evening, everyone. I hope you caught that. Good Monday evening. My name is Andrew Pfeffer, and this is Bowling with the Pfaff, a platform for you to share your unique bowling story live on our YouTube channel. It is a very exciting night, at least for me, because our guest and I go back a little ways. Our bowling lives have kind of gone separate directions, but it's always great to see her, and I really can't wait to get into this conversation tonight about this incredible tournament that she has both founded and maintained for almost 2 decades now, and is coming up this fall, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. Well, a new deal between the USBC and the Bowling Proprietors Association of America will keep the US Open coming back to Indianapolis for a couple more years. The USBC announced this agreement on Thursday. It has the PBA major tournament returning to Royal Pin Woodland in both 2028 and 2029. The 70-lane center is also the host for the US Open in 2026 and 2027. I don't know the dates just yet. They haven't been announced, but the deal has the U.S. Women's Open also coming to Royal Pin Woodland in 2028. So at least 3 U.S. Women's Opens would be at the center in 6 years' time under the terms of the agreement, and 8 U.S. Opens in a row. Not too bad. The Professional Women's Bowling Association returning to Eagan, Minnesota this weekend. And I'll be there to check out all the action. The Twin Cities Regional coming up this Sunday, February 28th. Competition starts at about 9 that morning, I believe. The competitors will bowl 8 games of qualifying before they cut to the top 4 of a stepladder final, which is expected to start about 4 in the afternoon. Last time there was a regional at Cedar Vale Lanes in 2023, Brittany Smith, who is pictured here, led qualifying, defeated Tamara Stanton 196-183 to claim that championship. PWBA also held a national tour stop there in 2024, which Shannon Labinski won. Recorded content, as Bowl TV is the exclusive live stream provider at that event. But watch later Sunday and into early next week for coverage from the Twin Cities Regional. Can't wait. Don't forget, we do have an official merch store on Etsy, etsy.com/shop/bowlingwiththepfco. T-shirts and hoodies all over that thing. And if you are in the Eau Claire, Wisconsin area, stop by at Jerry's Score More Bowling Supplies. Got everything you need from bowling balls, bowling accessories, high-level coaching. If you need it, Jerry's got it. 715-559-1822 is the number. Also, Visionary Video Hub, video with impact, plus live streaming, voiceover, and podcasting. You can find out more at visionaryvideohub.com. And Chip Magnet Salsa, the greatest salsa on the planet. I'm not just saying that. You should try it. You'll find out for yourself. And if you order a 6-pack online at chipmagnetsalsa.com, enter the promo code BWTF2025. You get 25% off each 6-pack. And there's no limit on that thing, so you could buy a ton of 6-packs and get a deep, deep discount every time from our friends at Chip Magnet. Raise your snack standards. Well, like I said, I am very excited about this conversation with our guest tonight. She runs one of the more popular tournaments in the Milwaukee area, and really it's getting that way around the Midwest because a lot of people talk about this thing every single fall. Efforts to prepare for this year's event hit a little bit of a snag over the summer, but it was nothing that Shannon Labinski couldn't handle. She's got a new format this time around. She has a new venue for it. It is the Junior Hall of Fame tournament. And along with that other new stuff, she's got a new outlook on just how great the 19th annual event can be. Here are some of the details. It's coming up Sunday, November 9th at Sussex Bowl for the first time. There are both scratch and handicap divisions for 4-person teams of juniors, which get paired up with a Hall of Famer or celebrity adult. The entry fee is $200 per team, and they are competing for a total of $15,000 in scholarship money, with $2,500 on top per division. The entry form and more details are at that website that you see right there, jhoft.weebly.com. You can find that in the description on YouTube or in the show notes if you're watching this on, or if you're listening to this rather, on the audio form and traditional podcast form. We do have a podcast on all podcast platforms. But Shannon Labinski is joining us from Merton, Wisconsin tonight. Shannon, it's a pleasure to see you as always. The last time we saw each other, I was kind of in a hurried state at the PBA World Series of Bowling. So it's glad to kind of chop it up here with you tonight. Welcome to the show.
Yes, thanks. Glad to be here.
Yeah, glad to have you. I know we've got a ton to get to, especially dealing with the Junior Hall of Fame tournament. I want to start out with a very nice post that you put on social the other day about your dad's birthday. And I remember back in juniors seeing your folks, cheering you on and supporting you all the time. You didn't really mention in this post anything about bowling, but rather kind of a broad scope, the things he's done for you in life. And it was really nice and it was really sweet. I'm wondering if you can get into kind of what he's meant to your involvement in our sport, because I know he's meant a lot.
Yeah, my parents, both of them got all of us into bowling. I have an older brother and an older sister, and being the youngest child, I started everything probably younger than both of them. So I started bowling when I was 5 years old. Both of my parents bowled, my brother and sister bowled, and my dad was a big supporter of me behind the scenes. He loved to talk about me as a bowler to other people. I'm sure they were sick of hearing about it. But he just supported us in not only bowling, but I also grew up playing softball, and all of the activities that we were part of. Both of my parents were very supportive, and they still participate in the Junior Hall of Fame. They give out T-shirts every year, so they're there volunteering at the event. And I know he's very proud of me and my brother and my sister. Yeah. And of course, his grandchildren, probably even more so.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I noticed that his little profile picture is the logo.
Yeah.
In your Hall of Fame tournament, which is really cool too. And so, I mean, of course, we got to talk about that. And you mentioned your older brother. And I got to kind of start with how he described it, because I think it really kind of hits the mark. He called it a must-see, must-attend event. It fills up quickly. It's been around long enough that junior bowlers of yesteryear now bowl as adults. You're going 19th year now. So yeah. I'm guessing you kind of see some of that, right? Some of the juniors that have attended in the past now are maybe a little older, maybe even have kids of their own, and are on the other side of the coin.
Yeah, it's pretty neat to see when we started to see that crossover of Junior Hall of Fame champions like Tyler Tschetter won as a youth bowler with Jill Weber, and now he comes back and competes as an adult bowler. So yeah, it's really neat to see.
Yeah. And I know Tyler a little bit because he bowls on the Serve Skis Club.
Okay, yes.
We do a little fun thing called the Feftacular every year, so I'm familiar with him. We talk a little bit. Tell me about how it ended up at Sussex. You've had a number of really good years at Bolero Wauwatosa. You've been to a couple of other centers. Tell us about what prompted that change.
Okay, so just to give history of the event, I know you talked about this a little bit when Steve Brinkman was on, but I started the tournament back in 2007 at Olympic Lanes, which is now called JB's. I think it's still called JB's. And we outgrew that center pretty quickly. So after the first few years, we decided to move to Bolero, where there were 72 lanes. And we would fill the event year after year and use all of the lanes in the entire center. And eventually we turned it into 2 divisions. So when it was first created, and I can't remember what year we did it, but we switched it to a scratch division and a handicap division because the bowlers were asking for it. And that has been very successful. So we would run the scratch tournament on the 24 side, and we would run the handicap tournament on the 48 side because we would have usually more handicap teams. Last year, I wasn't hearing back from Bolero about committing to the event for this year, and I kept following up with them. And then over the summer, I found out that they were shutting down the 24 side of the center, so we would be down to 48 lanes only. And they also informed me that they would be increasing lineage this year, and it was a pretty drastic increase, and something that I asked if they would be willing to give us more of a discount because the tournament is about growing the sport of bowling, giving back to the youth bowlers, providing scholarship money. So we didn't want to spend, a large portion of the entry fee on lineage alone. And they just weren't able to do anything with that. So Cassie and Stefan at Sussex Bowl offered to work with me. They're great proprietors. They're both bowlers. They're very competitive bowlers. So they know a lot about this tournament. They participate in it every year. They donate every year. Mike Kanan has been a huge supporter of the Junior Hall of Fame tournament. All of the centers support the event. So I worked with Cassie and Stefan, and they actually offered to donate all of the lineage. So we're paying 0 in lineage this year. So how could I say no to that? So we just had to figure out a way to make it work in a 16-lane center. So I'm excited about the new format.
Yeah. And I should mention, if someone from Bolero Management or Brass, is hearing this and wants to respond, maybe give us the reason why some of these changes happened, feel free to leave a comment, get in touch with me. I'd love to hear your side of the story. I know business is business, but, we got to understand why this happened too. 16 lanes, new format. Tell us about that new format and how it differs from how you've done it in years past.
Okay, so in the past, it was doubles teams would sign up and they'd get paired with a Hall of Fame member or a local celebrity bowler, and they'd compete as a 3-person team. Originally, we had just regular games of qualifying, and then if the teams made the cut, then they would bowl Baker games. We received feedback early on that everyone loved the Baker games, so we incorporated Baker games into qualifying. So it would be 3 games of qualifying for handicap, 4 games for scratch. Scratch would move lanes. And then there would be additional Baker games, and then we would cut. And then after the cut, there would be more Baker games, and then we would cut to stepladder finals. So this year, the change is the youth bowlers are entering as a 4-person team, and then they'll get paired up with 1 adult Hall of Fame member or celebrity bowler, and they'll compete as a 5-person team, which is really a true Baker team, as you know, with 5 people. And the entire event will be Baker. Just because of the limited amount of time that we have, we just switched the event to Baker. So what we're doing is we came up with a format that will work, that we can get everything done in 1 day. If for some reason we feel like we need to extend it to 2 days in the future, then we'll take that feedback and we'll take it into consideration for the upcoming years. But this year we just wanted to continue the tournament. We're still accommodating 128 youth bowlers, which is exciting. So it's the exact same amount. It's just a different format. So there won't be regular qualifying games. So we won't have, in the past, we had a top female and top male qualifier. We won't have that anymore, but we'll still have the Chuck Eberhard Award for the top qualifying team, and then awards for the top 6 teams in each division, and then 900 global awards for the top 2 teams, and high five gear, I should say, correct myself, H5G jerseys for the top team in each division.
Yeah. Now you mentioned the Chuck Eberhard Award. For those of us who don't know who is Chuck Eberhard and why is that award named after him?
It's named after him. Harley Auman had reached out and wanted to donate money to the event to have an award in Chuck's name after he passed away. Chuck actually donated the very first bowling ball that was raffled off at the 2007 event. I ran that event with probably a month's notice. We had one bowling ball sitting at the check-in table and you could buy raffle tickets for it. So if you see the raffle prizes that Rochelle Robintini now manages today, we've come a very long way, but Chuck has been a supporter of the event from day one.
Yeah. Another big difference that people are going to see, and I got to bring it up, right? Bolero is free fall, Sussex is strings. It's a kind of a recent thing. They recently installed these Cubica AMF Edge string machines. Is that something that you took into consideration, that you really didn't pay attention to, that has come up in conversation, anything like that?
I think it's a draw, because if you've never had the opportunity to bowl on strings before, now is your chance to come out and try them. And I mean, I don't really have an opinion one way or another, to be honest. I haven't bowled on strings yet. So I feel like if everyone is bowling on the same, everyone's bowling on strings, all things should be equal. But I haven't really heard any feedback about the strings yet.
Yeah. My opinion is I hope everybody tries them. You know what? Try them and give us some informed feedback, because that's, you don't know what you don't know until you have that experience. And I think everybody's experience is a little different, just like everybody's experience is a little different on free fall. And yeah, I've bowled in a couple different places with them now, and I'm okay.
What was your experience?
I bowled at Foxview, and that I thought was a good experience. It was tough for me. I had to really, hit flush to carry. It put a lot of emphasis on how I was getting through the shot, where I was placing that shot. You know me, I'm not a power player. So, a lot was based on really hitting that spot true, getting through it and not overhitting it or losing it at the bottom. And like you said, everybody bowls on the same thing, so everybody else is dealing with that too.
Sure.
Other than that, it's bowling. Yes, there are going to be some off hits that do weird things, but there are off hits that do weird things in free fall too. I mean, we've all seen, messengers take out 10s and 2 pins trip out on light hits. There are some of that with, with strings too, but it's not so much that, one is incredibly different than the other. And that's why I'm okay with it, is because I don't see a huge difference in carry, other than there's a bigger emphasis on better shot making. So, and I think that's what bowling's all about.
Yeah.
Making good shots. Okay. How about right here and now, as we sit here on Monday night on, September 22nd, is there still an opportunity for people to sign up?
Okay. Good question. So as of right now, the handicap division appears to be full, and I'm starting a wait list. Which is not unusual. The last several years I've had a wait list. You never know. I feel like since COVID, we've actually used the wait list more than we have ever before. For Scratch, we're at around 11 or 12 teams. So we're maxing out at 16. So still room for Scratch. I feel like the Scratch bowlers, they're so used to bowling every weekend that they tend to turn in their entries later. But keep in mind, the shirt deadline is October 1st. So if you're interested in bowling and you want to get the free shirt donated by H5G, and Top Notch is also a sponsor of the shirts this year, make sure you get your entry in by October 1st.
Yeah. And you guys had the big reveal today.
Yes.
And you guys put a lot of thought into the color scheme here. It's not just the text and the really cool logo that you've always had, but explain, some of the color scheme and what's going on here so people truly understand.
Okay, so interesting enough, I chose this quote back in March, and I actually chose it because I wanted to have an emphasis on athletes and mental health. And I just think that that's something that athletes should learn more about, and focus on a little bit more than just physical game. So I came up with this quote, "The comeback is greater than the setback." And it ended up being the perfect quote for the year. I didn't select it like after all of the changes or anything like that. But when we were coming up with the colors, my older daughter, Mercedes, wanted to see teal. And I really liked that Milwaukee People's flag. So, and I liked the sunset/sunrise. So that's supposed to be a sunset or sunrise over Lake Michigan. It kind of goes with the quote, and I thought it looked nice. So we incorporated it into the logo. And Charlie Heinzelman at H5G, I worked very closely with him and Cassie to design the shirt. So I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah. I figured you just went with the quote because I used it for this episode and it's gaining some traction. No. It was I took it because you put it on Facebook. So
yeah,
it was really cool, and those turned out really nice. So I bet you're excited to see people wearing them around, not only at the tournament, but all year round as well. How did you decide to start up this tournament? And like we said, 2007, we're talking 18 years ago. I don't recall you being a tournament director before this, but humor me and tell me, because I could be mistaken in that too.
Yeah, I wasn't. So I've been involved with youth bowling for a very long time. So back when I was like 13 years old, my brother would learn to bowl at Echo Bowl in the summers. It was back when they had the bumpers that you had to like blow up and put them in the gutters and then roll them up. So he would actually drive my sister and I there, and we would all learn to bowl for the rec program at Echo Bowl during the summer. And it was something I enjoyed. I mean, at that level, it's really just like how to pick up your bowling ball, how to walk to the line, how to keep your hands out of the ball return. But I always enjoyed giving back. And that was something that our parents taught us, to always give back to the community. So as I got older, I would coach youth leagues. And as Brinkman mentioned last week when you interviewed him, that I was working at Olympic Lanes along with him. And he did a great job with the youth program. And Pat Zawistowski, so you all may know Roxanne George and Rochelle Robintini are Pat's daughters. She was heavily involved in the Youth Bowling Association for Milwaukee, and there was an opening on the board, and she thought I would be a great fit. So I went to a board meeting, and at the board meeting, they mentioned that they had this $1,000 in surplus scholarship money that they wanted to give away to a youth bowler. They wanted to give out one scholarship. And I opened my big mouth and said, why give it to one person and it's gone? Why don't you start a tournament with it so that you can continue to give scholarships year after year after year? And so they said, okay, start a tournament. And I remembered as a youth bowler, I bowled a tournament. It was called the All-Star Trios. There was an All-Star League that Gloria Bear ran. And they had a tournament very similar to this format. I entered with Aaron Fowle. He was my doubles partner. And we were teamed up with one of the all-star bowlers. So I think it was Ralph Shruby. And we won the tournament. So, of course, I had a great experience. And that was a great memory for me. So I wanted to do something similar to that. And that's how I came up with the format for the tournament. So within a month, I ran my first event. It was for Milwaukee youth bowlers only because we were using $1,000 from Milwaukee. We had 20 teams. And then I heard from people in the Waukesha area that they were very interested in participating and would we consider opening it up? And we did. And that's when we really expanded. And we have bowlers from all over the state of Wisconsin, youth and adult bowlers, and Illinois. A lot of Illinois bowlers come up, youth and adult. So that's where I was at. 27 years old. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I had bowled a lot of tournaments, and I knew that doubles tournaments were very popular. So I was very strategic in making it a doubles event because it's easy to fill doubles events. They're more popular than individual events. I think they're easier to fill than like a full team event. So I purposely went with the doubles format, and then I started cold calling Hall of Fame members that had no idea who I was or why I was calling them. And I'll never forget the people that, you know, said, absolutely, like, I'll be there, no questions asked. You know, not everyone was on board right away, but I'll always remember the people that, you know, just believed in it from the very beginning.
Yeah. Wow. That gives you a good feeling about humanity, not just
yes. Yes.
So, and that kind of leads to another thought I had. I mean, what does it take to be a Hall of Fame bowler and a celebrity bowler in this event? And has that definition evolved through the years?
Yeah, it definitely has. So in the very beginning, I thought I would just reach out to all Hall of Fame members. And the event was so popular that I had more teams than Hall of Fame members that would commit to bowl. So I extended it to people that I think would be in the Hall of Fame at some point in the near future or when they were old enough. People like Derek Oaf lived in the area at the time. He's been a huge supporter of this event since the very beginning. So it was kind of like criteria of, do you have a resume that we could read out loud to the youth bowlers that would kind of justify why you're competing in the tournament? Because it is a little bit subjective. If you don't have that Hall of Fame status, but you just might not be old enough. Like Dave Barris was not old enough, but definitely had the credentials to be a part, and he's supported the event since the very beginning. Over time, when we built the scratch division, we set criteria for that. So you had to be a Hall of Fame member or a PBA or PWBA member. You had to have a state or national scratch title, or be a former Junior Hall of Fame tournament champion. So if you were one of those things, then that was the criteria that we set. Now, some people may qualify for scratch, but they prefer to bowl in handicap because they like bowling with the younger kids or less pressure or whatever the reason. But we tried to stick to that criteria for the scratch to keep it more competitive.
Sure. And then every once in a while, you end up with somebody like this, right?
Yes.
You get Liz Johnson in there. That's got to be amazing to have pros coming to this thing. I know you've had Sean Rash, you've had Mr. and Mrs. Barnes. How does that happen? How has that kind of thing become something where you get EJ Tackett in the house? And who do we have this year? Anybody like that?
I suppose I could have said here. So going back to Liz was our very first PBA, PWBA bowler. And at the time, she was sponsored by Hammer. This was many years ago. Yeah. She actually was friends of a good friend of mine who lived in Illinois. And he asked if she would be willing to bowl. And she basically came up here and bowled on her own free will, right? Like she wasn't sent by a sponsor or anything like that. So it really meant a lot to me and was like very intimidating to meet her for the first time. And she's a great person, super humble. I have so much respect for her. And so she came up and bowled. A very popular amateur bowler, Adam Barta, came up and bowled early on. And then since then, we had some sponsors that brought bowlers to the event. So we teamed up with PBA several years ago, and then H5G has sent bowlers up here. So, and also obviously 900 Global. So 900 Global sent Sean Rash. Amanda and Eric Vermilia, Linda and Chris Barnes have been here several times. We're always happy to have them. Linda's been a huge supporter of this tournament. And EJ was brought here by H5G. That was very exciting. AJ Johnson, PBA sent AJ Johnson here. I'm sure I'm missing people, but I was going to make notes and I was like, nah, I'm just going to wing it.
But the common denominator is, obviously they're excellent bowlers, but those are all really nice people that you met in here. And people who haven't met them previously, you should know that. They're great humans.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I always find it interesting when people watch the pros and they form an opinion about them because of maybe how they look or act on TV. Mm-hmm. But really getting to know them on a personal level, they're all great people. And if I was bowling to pay my bills, I don't know how I would be acting. You know what I mean? Like, sure. It's a competition. So, but yes, it is so great to meet some of these people, and, they've all been wonderful and wonderful with the kids. So the year that AJ Johnson bowled, we had a major breakdown and the scratch event had a delayed start. So AJ went to every single pair and took a picture with every single team in the entire scratch division. So it was like, if life gives you lemons, make lemonade kind of thing. So everyone got to go home with a picture with AJ, which usually, wouldn't happen because he's just competing with one team. You might pass him or approach him at his pair, but that was kind of cool.
Yeah. Yeah. But he knows, he knows that, not only is it cool for them, but to create that great image is a plus for him too. And it feels good.
Yeah.
It feels good.
And they're really into it too. Like, even the pros, when they're here, they want to win. Like they're volunteering their time entirely. They can win nothing. We did start giving everyone a trophy, but they don't win any prizes. They can't win any money because of USBC rules. Only the youth bowlers can win. So, but you can see it in all of the adults, how much they want to win for their team.
Yeah. Let me, I have a little, little quote here that kind of touches on some of that by someone you mentioned, Linda Barnes. I reached out to her and asked her about the tournament. She said, when I first found out about JHOFT, I was intrigued. Then I attended. What an amazing weekend. She said, the fact that you can pull together a charity event, competitive event, and fun environment is incredible. She said the kids love the competition, and the Hall of Famers and celebrities truly give it their all for their team. It's not often, as you said, that you have adult players who aren't competing for their own money truly give all of themselves during a competition. Shannon and her entire crew create an environment where the love of the game and the youth are the priority. The kids feel this, and the parents and spectators watching respect what they are seeing. It is truly one of my favorite events. And she goes to a lot of them.
Yeah. I mean, it's an honor to hear that from Linda. Like, she has been an amazing support system for this tournament, like through 900 Global from day one. Like she said, when she came out, I feel 100% supported by Linda and 900 Global because of Linda Barnes.
Yeah. And, she's not the only one, right? You mentioned Rochelle. She said, what's special about you is your dedication and desire to grow the sport of bowling. You've always had the passion, and at the 10th year of the tournament, it was going to be the last. But due to how much work was needed, to run it, you said 10th was going to be it, as it has grown so much, but more people stepped up to take over other aspects, and now we're 19 years in. That, says a lot about you too, is, leading this team that you have now. Rochelle is one of them. Who else is helping make this thing go?
Yeah. So just to give some background about the 9th annual event, Rochelle's absolutely right. I was ready to get to 10 years and finish on top. It was still a very popular event, but I just didn't feel as supported as I wanted to at that point. I thought at the 10th year, I think from an outside perspective, it was great. Like the youth bowlers had a great time. The parents loved the event, but it was a lot of work. And I felt like I was meeting a lot of resistance. And that's when Linda came in and hooked me up with the 900 Global. And we've partnered ever since. So you'll see that's the year I started the celebrity charity event the night before, which sounds insane because I was going to go from retiring this tournament to turning it into a full weekend of events. But it just breathed new life into me, having Linda there and supporting it and 900 Global supporting it. And then other people started to step up. I was trying to do a lot on my own. And I've learned a lot through the years. Like I said, I was young when I started the tournament. I've grown tremendously as a leader. So rather than trying to do everything myself, I've let people help me because they want to, and they see the potential in this tournament and how important it is to everyone who participates. So Rochelle Roventini runs all of our raffles, and she gets support from Sarah Hirsch and my sister, Carrie Connor. And these are just current staff members. We've had so many staff members through the years. Denise and Eric Pearson have supported this event behind the scenes. Denise would run brackets. Betsy Bear Huff, she runs all of the adult bowlers and coordinates all of that. That's a lot of work. I always say it's like herding cats, trying to get everyone to commit. At 1 year, we had 84 adult bowlers, and getting that many people to commit to an event that they are winning no money at. All they're doing is some people are driving hours to participate in this event just to volunteer. So Betsy does a great job with that. Laura and Steve Matilla have been a huge part of this event from the beginning. Steve Matilla actually created the Junior Hall of Fame logo that you see on all of our shirts. So he's the artist behind that design, which we love. Steve Matson, he participates in the scratch division of the event and works closely with Steve Matilla. Warren White has been a huge supporter. Tom Edwards. And of course, my husband, Steven, is there to do whatever I need him to do. Both of my daughters have participated in the event as bowlers. Now my younger daughter wants to run this tournament when she's older. I said she can take it over anytime. I'm sure she's ready. And then, I mentioned earlier, my parents, they hand out shirts at the event every year. And my Uncle Dean also is there every year supporting me. Steve's mom is there. And yeah, Gloria Bear has been a huge support and mentor of mine. She would run brackets with Dawn. Roxanne George, she was a huge part of the event, handicap scoring. Yeah, I'm sure I'm missing people.
Yeah, but that just goes to show that this is a cause that you championed right away. And obviously it was a good one because, through the hard work, through the years that passed, wow, that's a heck of a team.
Yeah. Yes.
Jen Grisham says, when Shannon founded the JHOFT tournament, I knew right away it was something extraordinary. She said it wasn't just about giving young bowlers the opportunity to earn scholarships. It was about teaching them to dig deep, believe in themselves, and find the strength to succeed. She said, your vision has changed the sport in ways that continue to resonate today. The tournament is so impactful that it fills within the first 2 weeks of being announced each year. Did you, when you started out, did you see this bigger picture that, that you've really kind of helped fill over the course of years? Or was this just, this will be fun to give out some scholarships to, more than just one kid?
I'm kind of a go big or go home kind of person. So I saw the vision from the beginning. And I think that's where I was at the 9th annual event, that I felt like I wasn't getting everyone else on board with my vision. And, I'm sure you're familiar. Everyone has an opinion about how things should be run and, what could be done better. And unless you're ever behind an event or running a tournament, you really don't understand what goes into it. So that's why it's been so important to have mentors like Gloria Bear and Linda. Linda and Chris run a huge tournament and many other events. And, I didn't mention Jen, and I thought of her immediately after. It's funny you said that. Jen has been a huge supporter, both behind the scenes and on the lanes. And I saw the vision, even down to I wanted to have shirts created one day, and it took several years for that to happen. And it's fun to see people wearing shirts in pictures and in videos of shooting honor scores, and they have a Junior Hall of Fame shirt on in social media, and I happen to notice that. Or I walk into a bowling center and there are people wearing Junior Hall of Fame shirts, and it's fun to see. But yeah, I had the greater vision, and I feel like the way that the tournament looks today, it may not be what everyone else wants, but this is the vision that I always saw. And just to give a little bit more history, part of why, not just to give the scholarships, like Jen said, it isn't just to give away scholarships and grow the sport, but it's to bridge the gap between youth bowling and adult bowling. So you and I both know how strong our youth bowling programs are in the area, but our adult bowling programs are even stronger. Like throughout Wisconsin, I feel like we have some of the strongest amateur bowlers in the country within the state of Wisconsin and Illinois. Yeah. And I wanted to bridge that gap because I wanted youth bowlers to see, if they continued bowling, what they could also accomplish as an adult bowler. Because oftentimes you hear that kids bowl as youth bowlers, but then they quit after high school, or they go on to college and they don't continue. Maybe they come back and bowl in an adult league. So I wanted to build like a mentorship program so that the adult bowlers could meet the kids and the kids could meet the adults, and have sort of a mentor that they may not have had access to without the tournament.
Yeah. And you're right. I mean, talk to people from other states and they'll tell you that Wisconsin is very fortunate to have both the strong youth bowling and the strong adult bowling. And yeah, that's a very noble cause. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because I think that's really cool. All right. Let's get into your bowling story. You kind of got us off to the start of it. You're 5 years old. Your parents kind of got you into it. Were your parents your coaches? Did you get into a junior program, find a coach? Who kind of got you started on the instructional side?
I think my dad tried to coach me a lot, but as many parents and kids know, that doesn't always go so well. I had the opportunity to work with some very good coaches from early on. So I started bowling at Celebrity Lanes, Red Carpet Celebrity on 27th Street. I think now it's like a car dealership. But I started bowling there, and then my parents bowled at Echo Bowl, and my brother and sister bowled at Echo Bowl, but they bowled on Saturday mornings, and I played basketball, so I wasn't able to bowl Saturday mornings. So I bowled Friday nights at Holiday Lanes, which is now called Lucky Lanes, and that's where I spent most of my youth career. Holiday Lanes had one of the best youth bowling programs around. It was a very strong program. I was very lucky. I met Roxanne George very young. She's, only like 5 years older than me, but she kind of took me under her wing and coached me and saw potential in me. I had the opportunity to work with people like Bob Greenfield as, like a older youth bowler because my dad knew him. He was very helpful. And then, I just had a lot of fun bowling in youth leagues. Like for me, looking back, I love to compete, but it was also the social aspect of it. All of my friends I met through bowling, and I just loved competing.
Yeah. Your brother kind of mentioned that stuff about Echo and Holiday Lanes. He said that he thinks that you had a lot of natural talent being a softball pitcher. Then you started to connect with those bowlers at both Echo and Holiday, where you learned some of the finer points of conditions, approach, overall knowledge. He said, you'll tell me that a turning point was learning to believe in yourself. And that's something that, a lot of people have to kind of either convince themselves of or learn. At what point do you think, man, I really either convinced myself or was convinced that I can do this, I can compete, I'm worth it?
Yeah, I think I'm still trying to convince myself of that, but it definitely wasn't as a youth bowler, and I wish it was. I probably didn't really believe in myself until I was probably in my 30s, to be honest, like well into adult bowling and well after many accomplishments. So yeah, when I was a young bowler, I had like a natural talent and natural form. Like I would bowl at tournaments and people would go up to my dad and say, she's going to be a pro bowler one day. Like her form is so good. And that just wasn't the path for me because at the time that I was growing up, that didn't exist for women. So I was kind of caught in between that women's PBA tour, not saying that that's something that I would even have been able to compete at. But believing in myself, I think surrounding myself with people early in my adult career, that's where I saw most of my success. Like I had some success as a youth bowler and even as a collegiate bowler with UW-Milwaukee. But really teaming up with a team that probably believed in me more than I believed in myself, it gave me that confidence until I really started to believe. And I think my husband, Steven, was a huge part of that because he's the one that taught me how to believe in me. Like I believed in everyone else and I thought everyone else was so good. And, but it was like that mental aspect that I think a lot of female athletes struggle with, to be honest. And that's something that I work on a lot with my daughters. They don't necessarily bowl anymore, but I think in any sport or anything that you participate in, it's really truly believing in yourself.
Yeah, well said. I thought this was really interesting because our paths kind of crossed late in juniors because I moved away for a while, came back when I'm in college, and we ended up kind of intersecting in junior leagues and then again at UWM. So I reached out to Michelle McHenry, who was one of your teammates at UWM. And I find it really interesting that you guys are both state Hall of Famers. I can't imagine there are too many college teams out there ever that had multiple state Hall of Famers, in the starting five. So I asked her about, some of those memories from UWM. And she recalled that you were always the foundation of the team. She said you were the one that took a team that didn't exist, made one, and set that foundation for UWM bowling to be revived and grow into what it is today. It was easy to show up and bowl, but you provided that path for that to happen. And she said there were roadblocks along the way, challenges, but you were able to navigate them to see the bigger picture. Wow, does that remind me of the Junior Hall of Fame tournament?
Yeah.
But it's true. I mean, I can remember back then on both men's and women's sides, what was there before us, right? There was one guy who was a non-traditional student who would kind of bowl from time to time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think we had a really great group, right? That came in all at the same time. We were all roughly the same age. So it was, Michelle McHenry, Betsy Burnson at the time. I just saw Nikki Weiland last night. She participated, Leah. We just happened to have like a really strong group of female bowlers and male bowlers that were all at UWM at the same time and willing to commit to the program. And yeah, it was fun. And we didn't have like a team bus or any funding from the school or anything like that. I think we all just loved the game so much and wanted to compete and knew that, we could be contenders, and we really were.
Yeah. Yeah. We drove our own cars. We
Yes.
got there, come hell or high water.
Yeah.
Did our best with what we had. And yeah, like I said, that passion really translated not only in the college game, but also, in this great tournament that you've created and maintained all this time.
And Michelle and I grew up bowling together. So we both bowled at Holiday Lanes. So she was always a great bowler. So we competed together for many years. And actually, we went to high school together. And I always say, if we would have had a high school team, it would have been so good, but they wouldn't create a team for us at our small private school. But yeah, a lot of good memories with Michelle.
Yeah, for sure. So you go adult and, you start making a name for yourself locally. You talked about the accomplishments. Was there a particular group of ladies that you kind of gravitated toward? You talked about, meeting Roxanne kind of younger. Is that kind of the circle that you ended up in right away, or did it take time to kind of find your team and your group?
Yeah, it took a little bit of time because in youth bowling, I competed with all male bowlers. So when I turned adult, back then, I think I was like 20 when I became an adult bowler. It was all men, Michelle and I bowled together, but other than that, it was the guys. And it was like, oh, I need to meet some women so I can bowl women's events. And I was actually lucky because early on in my career, Jerry Anderson Haves, who is an outstanding bowler, her and Ben, they needed a sub on their team for city or something like that. And so I subbed with them like one of my first years in adult bowling. So I got to meet a lot of the women that I still look up to today early on and compete with them. So that was a lot of fun. So I would bowl with like Jerry Hafes, Chris Weber, Margie Wookaman, Diane Olson at the time. So I kind of lucked out with that. And then I had to find a team because I was really just subbing there. And I ended up teaming up with Roxanne and Rochelle. And we were really serious about competing. So we ended up joining with Laura Matilla and then later added Tracy Strunzi to the team. Laura was actually just inducted into the Milwaukee Hall of Fame last night. Roxanne and Rochelle and I are in the Milwaukee Hall of Fame. So it was kind of neat to see Laura get inducted. And we had many accomplishments together. And then we convinced Hammer to sponsor us. So we were the only women's team Hammer has ever sponsored. So that was pretty exciting. And I stayed with Hammer for a very long time, almost a decade. Just as an individual bowler, I continued to represent Hammer until I got to the point where I just wasn't competing as much because my daughters were getting a little bit older and starting to have activities of their own. And I didn't really want that responsibility of representing a sponsor. I just kind of wanted to bowl for myself.
Sure. Rochelle told me as a teammate, you were amazing. She said you were always cheering others on. You guys worked together so well, communicating together on the lanes, but more importantly, you had a lot of fun. And that communication, that teamwork really shone through on March 28th of 2008, didn't it? Because you five set a record that still stands today. And I confirm that with USBC. 1331 for a team game at Riviera Lanes that night. Walk us through that. What do you remember from that night?
It's funny. I remember the night pretty clearly. Rochelle was just talking about this last night at Laura's induction, because we started out the night like really not bowling that well for the first couple of games. And so Rochelle was kind of like, oh, let's try to shoot team high game in the league. So, okay, that was funny. So let's try to shoot team high game because we're not, winning any points tonight or doing anything else special. And we just started out bowling really well and everyone was striking. And we kept chanting like team high game, which sounds crazy, but like, I swear this happened. And we ended up finishing with 1331, which that's still the USBC record. And there's not a lot of 5-woman teams anymore, right? Like a lot of leagues have moved away from 5-person or 5 women. So it's exciting to have like an all-time record like that. I mean, it's crazy that we did it and it was a lot of fun. Yeah.
And you know how records are, right? You reach it and then, a few years later, somebody, bests it and it's like, okay, we had a good run. Congratulations. This is going to be 17 years. It's stood the test of time. There's a team in Michigan that's maybe 40 pins away. I mean,
really?
It's really held true all this time.
Yeah, it's impressive.
Yeah. So, obviously you had the communication, you had the skill like Rochelle talked about, and the fun, right? Team high game. She did admit sometimes there was too much fun. She said you learned flying home from with a hangover from nationals was not a good experience. Want to elaborate on that?
We had a little too much fun one year. I'm not a drinker. I've never had a high tolerance. And we decided to go to a martini bar the last night of nationals. And it was a rough flight home, but that'll never happen again and has never happened again.
Yeah. Yeah. I know that about you. And, we drove to our tournaments in college, so we never had to deal with flights home. So there was that too. But I mean, the other thing is, that the hammer ladies and, the big scores and all that stuff. But, you guys, you four and Tracy, you just seem to genuinely have a good time wherever you went. Was this something where you just genuinely enjoyed bowling together, or did you find yourself doing a lot of stuff off the lanes too?
Yeah, I mean, we were really close as a team and truly cared about each other. And, that team chemistry was so natural, both on and off the lanes. And I think that played a huge role in our success. Like we were all serious about bowling, but we were supporting one another as well. And we had a lot of success with the hammer team. And then I also have to mention Jen Grisham. You mentioned her earlier. She joined our team after Laura left, and we continued on that same success. So we all have kids that are around the same age. Oh, nice. We've grown closer to one another because our kids are close friends. And it's like bowling is a family, and I truly believe that. And I think that has played a huge role in why I continued bowling for so many years, because you get to the point where, the bowling and the competition, it's fun, but it's really the social aspect and the friendships and the people that you consider family that keep you coming back.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said. The other thing is, you have that willingness to give of yourself in this too, that you said your parents kind of instilled in you. Your brother mentioned that you've been incredibly generous, not only, giving back to the bowling community, but also to the Foundation for Fighting Blindness, Down Syndrome Awareness, and Breakthrough T1D, which some may remember as JDRF. he said those are organizations important to the Labinski, Gruff, and Connor families as well. Tell me a little about that. Why do you spend that effort, those resources on this stuff? Because a lot of us may say, oh, it's good to give and charity is great. It's another thing to do the things, right? Time, talent, and treasure.
Right. I just, like I mentioned earlier, we were always raised to give back. And so that was always important to me. My brother is a type 1 diabetic, so I've been heavily involved in JDRF, now Breakthrough T1D, for many years, not just through bowling, but through their annual walk. And when you build something, I should mention too that Linda and Chris Barnes are huge supporters of what was JDRF and T1 Breakthrough T1D, also because their son is a type 1 diabetic. And I feel like if you build something and you have all the best intentions around it, people will join you. It's kind of like a field of dreams. If you build it, they will come mentality. I've noticed that, it's the celebrity event. We support every charity that Brian listed here. And that event is full the minute I announce it, because we carry over the same teams year after year after year. So they get their team spot if they want to keep it. We have had people had to switch out for different reasons, but that event raises money. We've raised over $10,000 for all of these charities over this will be our 10th year. So probably well over $10,000 for those charities. I don't know. That's just how I was raised, I guess, to give back. And those charities are very important. I have a niece with Down syndrome. My sister's daughter has Down syndrome. And my husband has Stargardt's disease, which is a juvenile macular degeneration. And that's why Foundation Fighting Blindness is important to us, because he has participated in several clinical trials to slow the progression of his disease. And just seeing that firsthand is, I know why it's important to give back. And I don't know, I guess I just wouldn't do it any other way.
Yeah, that's really cool. I think that's awesome, and I'm glad that's a part of who you are, because I really respect people who do that and take the time and resources to really give back in a meaningful way, because not only is it cool to see, but I know it feels good. It feels good to give like that.
Yeah, it does.
Now, your husband is also a bowler. I'd be remiss if I didn't say that. And you mentioned that a little bit, that he was a big part in, kind of building up your confidence and helping you prove to yourself that, that you belong and all that good stuff. So let me throw a hypothetical out there. Action match, you versus him, 3 games, 5 games. Which one of you wins and why?
If we were to do that today, I'd probably win. If we were to do it many years ago, after Steve switched to 2 hands, like early on, he was scoring quite well. I don't know. It's hard to say who would beat who, but I'm going to bet on myself.
All right. There you go. See, he taught you well. I have to kind of wrap up with this part. I know we're a little over an hour. I hope I'm not keeping you from something, but initially when I kind of asked these people that know you so well, about you and about bowling, I kind of, hit them kind of broad. Hey, tell me about her. What's she all about? What's her bowling about? And I want to kind of go through this response that I got from Jen, because I think you'll really appreciate hearing it. It's going to take a little time because it's a little lengthy, but
okay.
I think it'll be worth it. She said that she met you in the early 2000s through her boyfriend, Ron Wallenkamp. She said at that time she knew of you, but your friendship didn't truly take root until Roxanne and her began bowling Friday nights at Blue Mound Bowl. She said from there, you two joined leagues together, and your bond deepened even further when you both had children around the same time. Being around Shannon is something special, she said. She has a presence that inspires me to be a better mother, a better friend, and a better person. She went on to say, while we've shared plenty of success on the lanes and earned our share of titles together, what matters most is the friendship we've built. Shannon is the person I can turn to for advice, support, or just to talk through life, whether it's personal or professional. Our families remain close, even if we don't see each other as often as I'd like. I am endlessly proud of her, not just for what she has accomplished in bowling, but for the way she uplifts those around her. To me, Shannon will always be more than a friend. She will always be my sister. What do you think?
That's very nice. And Jen is very good at keeping secrets because she asked me to sub tonight, and I was like, I can't. I'm going to be on a podcast. And she's like, oh, that's fun. So well played, Jen.
Yeah, that was great.
Very nice. It's very nice to hear that. And that is true. I started bowling with Ron Wallenkamp. We actually have a city title together. He subbed at the very last minute for Tracy Strunzi, and we won city tournament that year. And we were the first predominantly female team to win the Open City tournament. So that was a big accomplishment. But yeah, I bowled with Ron before I bowled and met Jen, and I could say all of those same things about Jen as well. I consider them family.
Yeah, and that's so cool because you two also have, titles, as she referred to. Waukesha County women's scratch doubles, right? 2 times running.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, what's it like to bowl doubles together?
Jen is a great person to bowl with, right? Like everyone wants a teammate that cares about their teammates more than they care about their own success. And I think that's what builds a great team. And as you can see here, this was at a wedding of other fellow bowlers that we have a lot of fun together off the lanes. And Jen has taught me to not take myself so seriously. And I think that has made a big difference in my game as well, is not that I don't care, but it's like the less I cared or the less pressure I put on myself, the more success I had as I got older. So Jen has been a huge part of all of my success, even if it was behind us, when I was bowling with Ron. Yeah, Jen and I have had a ton of success together, and I plan to continue. We still bowl together, and I plan to continue that success with her.
Yeah, that's really cool. I hope she got her sub. That's funny. All right, so where do you go from here? I mean, you're obviously bowling. I'm assuming you're doing leagues, you're doing tournaments. Does that continue for however many years? Do you see yourself ramping up, slowing down?
I've slowed down a little bit over the last several years as far as tournaments and even league. To be honest, I still bowl league, but I don't bowl as many tournaments as I used to. Jen might drag me out to a tournament and people say, oh, I didn't know you still bowled. But I do try to I get to state and city at least every year. And I started bowling state tournament with my family. So I'm bowling with my dad and my brother and my nephews, which is really exciting. So that makes me want to bowl those things. My time is really precious right now with my daughters. Mercedes is turning 16 in December and Genevieve just turned 13. So I think about, I only have X amount of years left where they're still at home, and they're both competitive dancers. So I spend a lot of time, taking them to their rehearsals, classes, competitions, and I don't want to miss any of that. So I don't bowl nearly as much as I used to, but maybe I'll make a comeback like on the senior tour.
Yeah. See, I totally understand that. 13 years old, right over my shoulder here. Yeah. So I get that. I'm kind of a once a week hot dog now, but it's you're right. You can't get that time back. And wow, the whole family thing at State sounds really awesome though. That's so cool. And I hope they put you on the bottom. They should. All right. So you kind of alluded to it earlier. Can you tell us who's going to be at Sussex Bowl at the Junior Hall of Fame tournament, or are you going to make us wait and wonder?
Okay, so this will be a good time to announce it, and I got the approval from Cassie. So H5G will be sending Liz Johnson, who I consider the greatest female bowler of all time. She will be competing in the Saturday night celebrity charity event and the scratch division, which is neat because she actually has to fly out that day to Las Vegas, so she can only be there for scratch. But if we were in the old format, she wouldn't have been able to bowl at all. And then we're also going to have AJ Johnson there for the entire weekend. So super excited to have both of them back. Both were very popular with the youth bowlers, the parents, the adults. It's kind of exciting to have Liz back as the first adult with all the changes this year, or first pro, not adult, first pro back when we were at Bolero, to have her back this year with all the changes. So it's exciting to have her there, and a huge honor to have both of them.
Yeah, really excited for those bowlers, two great people. And you don't get much better than either of them on the men's or women's side. So what a tremendous thing for everyone participating and even coming to watch the celebrity tournament the night before and the Junior Hall of Fame tournament. So cool. Thank you for letting us in on that surprise. That's awesome. All right. The time that I know you've been waiting for, I know you've been preparing for. Take a look at this.
Let's go off the sheet. Challenge a bowler to appear on a future episode.
I would like to challenge Will Madison.
I would say Diana Zavulova.
The better Russo, Lauren Russo.
We're looking for anyone who has a passion for the sport and a unique story to tell.
All right. Shannon Labinski, who would you like to challenge to be on a future episode of Bowling with the Fef?
Okay, well, you'll have to correct me if you've already interviewed. I have a couple ideas. So the first person is Gloria Bear. Have you interviewed Gloria yet?
I have not.
I think you should. Gloria, I mentioned her a couple times during this podcast. She has been a big mentor and supporter of me. She knows what it takes to be successful behind the scenes, and I think she would have a lot of great stories to tell. Mm-hmm. So highly recommend getting a hold of Gloria, maybe through Dawn.
Okay.
All right, my other recommendation would be Linda and Chris Barnes. I love Linda Barnes. She is one of the sweetest people I've ever met. Chris has a really dry sense of humor that I appreciate, and I think he's super funny, and I think it would be fun to have both of them. Maybe you could even get the boys on the show too.
Yeah, those are two fantastic ideas. I remember Gloria running the Midwest Collegiate when it was at Bolero, and of course through other junior events in the Milwaukee area. So great suggestion. I hope she's willing. And it's funny you mentioned Chris and Linda together. Early in my run, I did message them, trade messages with them back and forth. I was hoping to get them together for Valentine's Day that first year, but it just didn't work. Something in the timing just didn't work out. And that's when we had Mark and Margie instead.
Okay.
So, but I've interviewed both of them in recorded form, and they've both been great, but I would love to have them on live. I think they'd be fantastic together. And just like you said, Chris's dry sense of humor is fantastic. Linda is just the sweetest person you'd ever want to meet. I'll never forget that she told me, maybe I think I'll bowl the Golden Ladies. And then she Yeah, two fantastic people. Obviously you put Ryan up there in that category too. Apple never falls that far from the tree. Right. So yes, I would love to interview all, whatever. Gloria, Chris, Linda, if you're interested, please let me know. You can email me at bowlingwiththefef@yahoo.com, or you can find me on Facebook. At least I know Linda and Chris are on Facebook. Gloria, if you're not, I can go through Don and we can go at it that way. Our next content, we'll say, because we're not going live next week, I'll be at the PWBA Twin Cities Regional September 28th at Cedarvale Lanes, Eagan, Minnesota. It's recorded content. Have a little patience. We'll get there either late Sunday or early Monday with that. Some of the best in the Midwest and beyond coming to the Twin Cities of Minnesota to show their stuff and hopefully win a PWBA regional title. Shannon, tell us again, just so we know, again, time is of the essence, the Junior Hall of Fame tournament. If people want to support you in this endeavor, what should they do?
If they want to support the event, you can contact Rochelle Roventini for raffle prizes. If you want to support, Betsy Bear will also be leading a new sponsorship program. So more to come on that. But if you'd like to participate in the event as a youth bowler, make sure you get in your entry. You want to get it in by October 1st for that shirt deadline donated by H5G and Top Notch Pro Shop. If you want to participate as an adult bowler, and this is something that interests you, you can reach out to Betsy Bear Huff, and she will have more information on that probably within the next week or so.
Okay. And if you need a connection, you can always reach out to me. I can get you in touch with all the key players in that. And I'm sure Shannon would appreciate any or all interest because not only is it close to her heart, it's a fantastic event, and you should definitely give it a shot. Shannon, thanks so much for taking the time. I know this isn't the most comfortable thing going live for an hour plus, but we really appreciate hearing your story, and I hope it was as fun for you as it was for me.
It was nice talking to you again.
Yeah, always appreciate talking with you. Yeah, no, it was a great time and continued success in that tournament. Everybody, thanks so much for tuning in. Always appreciated. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for watching Bowling with the Fef. Pound the like button and subscribe button. It's the easiest way to support the channel, and it's free. Bowling with the Fef is brought to you by Chip Magnet. Raise your snack standards.
Jerry's Score More Bowling Supply inside Wagner's Lane. So Eau Claire, Wisconsin area's leader in bowling products and services since 1988. And Visionary Video Hub. Video with impact.
Email bowlingwiththefef@yahoo.com with questions or to appear on the show. You can also reach out on your favorite social media platform.